How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike The Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
Doing good, my friend. Excited for first Offsides, so I'm ready to get to it.
Yeah, Mike, I'm curious. I know we have a few series, as part of the show, but where does Offsides rank for you?
Ooh, that's a good. It's probably I love building because I like talking about the draft, but it's probably my favorite because a lot of times you get people on from the rival teams, and you like Tom. Everybody hates Tom Stakes, the Philly fan, and then you end up talking to him, and it's like, yeah, he plays it up for online, but really, we're all just fans of our team. So I love Offsides personally.
Yeah, it's up there for me too, man. I'm not sure. It's a tie between this and probably Cowboys Crystal Ball, just because we get to talk about the games, and really anytime we get to have a guest on to either talk about the Cowboys or just talk about the matchup, man, it's always a good time when we have a guest on. Keeps
me from blabbing too much.
Yes, sir. Well, Mike, I know a place you like to do a lot of blabbing is Twitter. Where can people find you there?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, Mike, here we are with season 4 of our series Offsides with Paul and Mike. For those of you who are new to the show, in this series, Mike and I bring on fans of the opposing team the Cowboys are playing that week to discuss the matchup, what it's like being a fan of their team, and everything in between. With us tonight is not a fan of the Giants, but a Daniel Jones truther, writer for RPO Football, projections maker, player evaluator, host, and creator of the PPR show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome SC Romero to the show. SC, how are you, sir?
Doing good, man. I can say I've been on a few shows here, and by far my favorite entrance there, man. I really appreciate all that love. Excited to talk some football with y'all and, talk about these Cowboys going against these new look Giants. It's going to be a fun conversation.
I always like to lift the guest all the way up before we beat them down, talking about the Cowboys and how we're going to beat their team, sir.
It'll be fun.
SC, where can we find you on Twitter, sir?
So you can find me at the PPR. So on Twitter, going on there, talking college football, IDP rankings, stuff like that. Also offensive, just trying to help the fantasy community get better and have us all win, unless you're in the league with me, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, speaking of evaluating players, and you talked about college ball, you had a really cool thread earlier this week talking about college players and breaking down the games and certain players, and I really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm curious, so how long have you been evaluating players?
So it really started I've been playing fantasy football for 14 years now, and it really started to really dissect when I started playing Dynasty, which was now 5 years ago. That's when I really started to get heavily evaluating. My first Dynasty was an 8-team league. It's still going strong. It's an IDP league as well. So in the IDP mix, I played ESPN and Yahoo all the time. Never had been able to, or never tried it at least. And, going on Sleeper now, I was able to do these IDPs, and now it just got more exciting because now I'm not only looking at the offensive weapons, now it's about their matchups. Now it's about what these players are doing, how they're changing teams, what the schemes are. Everything goes into it. It's just a lot of fun to me because I enjoy the game. I enjoy the game of football. I enjoy watching it. Those athletes out there are great, and it's just a fun way to kind of become the GM, Madden franchise, if you will. You have fantasy football and you get to play with your friends.
IDP is an underrated format, man. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're fine. For people that are watching that maybe aren't fantasy big into fantasy, what is the IDP?
Independent defensive players. So ideally, how you have your offensive weapons, excluding the offensive line, you have your wide receivers, tight end, running back, quarterback. IDP means you have the entire defense. So most of the time, it could be defensive line, linebacker, defensive back, and then the IDP, which could be any of those positions, kind of like your flex. But then there are some leagues that are even deeper where you can go defensive tackle, defensive end, linebacker, outside linebacker, cornerback, safety, right? So just they get points. You get points for tackle, interception, touchdowns like you would an offensive player. You just have to be more smart about it because they're not getting as much opportunity because there's more people that can get that one stat, where if you have a wide receiver, there's only 3 on the field, right? Technically wide receivers, where IDP, anyone could get that one tackle. So it's a little bit more cutthroat, understanding which person is around the ball the most, or which person can make the big play, the big playmakers to get an interception.
Yeah.
So how did you go from evaluating players and like transition that into creating content?
So the fantasy footballers, give them a shout out. I love that was one of my first podcasts I heavily invested in because they all just drawn to their energy. And I had a league, 4 years ago now that I just brought up to the league, like, hey, what if we made this a league of record? What if I just talked about what we're doing in this league, what we're, trading, who's winning, talk trash if someone's having like a rivalry. And I was like, what if I record it? What if I have us on the show? We talk about it. So I started the PPR show, and that kind of just led to one thing to another where that's kind of where the content came in. All the guys in the league were enjoying it. They were watching it. We got a belt for the league. And it, that's where it started.
Are you allowed to join leagues that are half point or no PPR then?
No, definitely. Well, I don't talk about those leagues.
Yes, sir. So I mentioned the places you create content for, RPO Football, Dynasty Pros, and of course the PPR show. Can you talk to us a little bit about your roles with those sites and organizations?
Yeah, definitely. So with Dynasty Pros, I'm a part of their Devy show, which is going to be going on Tuesday and Thursdays. A Devy Devy preview on Thursdays, talk about the teams that are coming up this college weekend, and then on Tuesdays the Devy recap, seeing what happened. And Devy in the fantasy football world is just basically you draft some college players, but you don't get points. They're essentially your taxi. You don't get any kind of points for them. But there are other leagues like Campus to Canton, which is you have a college roster. When those college players go pro, they go to your pro side of the roster. So the Devy show just talks about that, and that's what I do with them every Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so this is my most interested question in the thing. So you're a Chargers fan. Yes, you're from Texas. Sir. You're currently living in Oregon. Yes, how in the hell did you become a Daniel Jones truther?
So, man, the Daniel Jones – I'm a huge Duke fan. I was a huge fan of basketball. I was a huge fan of Coach K. I love seeing them play. He was very talented, and I just enjoyed that atmosphere when I was watching the Duke game, when they're playing the North Carolinas. So in that era or since Daniel Jones, there wasn't really anything to root for when it came to Duke football. It was kind of like, all right, they're the bottom of the SEC. Or ACC, excuse me. They're not really doing much. They're not going to win. Basketball champions going to the Final Four, all that. Well, then comes this quarterback, Daniel Jones. And I think it was 2018. He had a game against UNC. Kid had over 500 total yards, 4 touchdowns. I think he had 1 interception, but he dominated. And I believe the score, he beat them by, it was like 10 points or so, I think. But it was just such a great game and an excitement for a guy that's been a fan of Duke and basketball to say, wow, we have a football quarterback. And when I saw that happen, I started following him, and Giants took a shot on him, and I just really been enjoying seeing him grow. Some quarterbacks, Geno Smith, for example, takes a little bit longer than your Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that. But I think Daniel Jones has potential, and I think he's continuing or beginning to be unlocked.
I think we established that he's a big fan of Daniel Jones. Do you want me to move to the next one, Paul?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask a different question. SC, I'm curious. You talked about how you became a fan of Daniel Jones. Do you remember what your evaluation of him was when he was coming out of college?
In just a few words, gunslinger, mobile, and tough. But above that, it was needs work. He wasn't freshly polished. You know what I mean? Like he was someone that I could see it being great, almost like your Eli Manning's. Like I didn't see him as like a champion out the gate, but he has that potential because of his ability to just have that knack for the game and just go out there and win in the game.
Yeah.
Yep. Daniel Jones is tough. That is a good word for him. That guy will take a beating. Where would you rank him among NFC quarterbacks right now?
I'm gonna be truthful with y'all. Right now, he's quarterback 3. You had to give it to Jalen Hurts. They just went to the Super Bowl, right? So I'm gonna give it to him. Dak right now is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones, so he's definitely number 2. And then you have Daniel Jones, but to be honest, I mean, I'm a huge Sam Howell fan too, and that's a good quarterback, possibly that could, this could be a very dominating division with these quarterbacks. But yeah, Daniel Jones is number 3 for me right now in the division.
You look at the Giants, and they've got a dynamic playmaker at running back in Saquon Barkley. Are the Giants one of the very few teams that maybe the running back is more important than the quarterback, you think?
I think the answer, you can say yes, but I think what the Giants' issue so far has been, it hasn't been the quarterback or the running back. They've been paired. I think it's been the coach. I think the running back plays a versatile role with this team, but I also think the quarterback hasn't had the weapons to say he's more important than that running back. Saquon Barkley is definitely the most valuable player on that team right now. But more important than Daniel Jones, no, because I think with Daniel Jones starting to click, we're going to see a little bit more looser Saquon Barkley, and that can just explode even further.
Yeah.
All right, so talking about this game coming up, this kind of parlays into what I'm thinking when we're going to make our picks and everything. But, there's a lot of talk all the time. Dak's 10-0 in his last 10 versus the Giants. Dallas is 11-1 in the last 12 opening games versus the Giants. How much do you think that helps the Giants motivation-wise for this upcoming game, or do you think it affects the game at all?
No, I know these players look at it and everything, but I tend to not buy into it because every time I buy into it, the opposite happens. Because every time I'm like, okay, this is their 10-0. Well, this is going to be the game they lose. And I'm going to say, oh, well, they're, 10-0. They should win this. So it's not every year, every team is different. Whether it's the returning players or whether it's the same coaching staff and everything, they're still different because now they have that experience as a full team, right? Now they know how to click and how to respond better with everything, right? So that's going to be a huge part into what's happening with them. That's going to be them saying, okay, no matter what the record tells us, this is a new team. This is a new era. This is a new us. Let's go out there and show them we're not what a history says. Let's not repeat history. Let's go out there and be the difference.
I like that, man. It's interesting. Daniel Jones, up to last season, had a lot of question marks around him. And then, of course, they bring in Daboll, and we saw the type of season that he had. Looking at the success that they had, is Daniel Jones maybe getting hyped up because of just one season, or is he being properly evaluated after getting a better coaching staff?
I think you have some bandwagoners that are, jumping on to say, okay, he's definitely the quarterback we want, stuff like that and everything. I do think he definitely got better, but I think a huge impact of that was the coaching staff. I think the coaching staff, like I mentioned, just kind of unlocked him, made him use his weapons, his ability to run. He had his most rushing yards, his ability to bomb the ball. He has a great arm. I think the coaching staff had a huge play in that. And I really still don't think he's being valued or ranked in the area that he should be, because I think he can be a top 10 quarterback, which you saw in some leagues last year, depending on your scoring, because he has that mobile attitude like a Josh Allen. He's tough. I would say Josh Allen's better, but I would also say Daniel Jones can give him that opportunity. He could be that player. And I think we saw a little taste of that now.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones also done better with his turnovers, where Josh Allen still turns the ball over a lot.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, it's interesting because I've been comparing their first seasons together. Daniel Jones with Daboll, and then Josh Allen with Daboll. And the turnaround in season 2 for Josh Allen is the explosion that everyone wanted. At first, it was like, okay, we don't know about Josh Allen. What's he going to be? And then that second season, when they had a full season, it just all clicked, and he was the QB1. Now, I'm not saying there's tons of other quarterbacks that I think could be QB1 outside just Josh Allen, so I don't think Daniel Jones hits that. But if we see that same turnaround, then the sky's the limit. I think they got some good receiving options now where we can actually see a beyond top 10 Daniel Jones.
So speaking of the receiving options, how much will the additions of Waller, Hyatt, Campbell, how much will that help Jones and the Giants offense?
Well, Waller's questionable at the moment, so we'll see what happens with him, right? If he's healthy, I mean, we've seen what he's done when he's healthy. He's top 3 tight end, if not top 1, right? He's just a very athletic person. Paris Campbell, I enjoy. I think that's more of a veteran leadership in a way because he's also had some injury histories here and there. I think the kicker is going to be Jalen Hyatt. You know, having this athlete that I'm gonna compare to how they use Stephon Diggs. You know, he's almost the same size as Stephon Diggs. You're gonna see him try to take out the defenders over the top, something that can really stretch the defense that Daniel Jones didn't have last year. Isaiah Hodgins, I think, still comes out as like your wide receiver 2-1 in some games, but I think Jalen Hyatt is going to be using that speed. You know, there was a joke on him. I feel like it was the Cowboys coach or something that went up to him and said during the combine that, oh, you know, you're just like a one route person. That's all you do, right? And the funny thing is, he may not be, but that's going to be a way to get Daniel Jones to unlock more. And once teams try to focus in on that and him just try to beat over the top, so you have safeties playing deep, you're going to end up seeing, okay, well, now I'm going to show off my route running skills and beat you in the middle. And I think there's going to be an evolution of Jalen Hyatt and Daniel Jones in that connection where it's going to take a few weeks to get right, but once we see it, it's going to be a thing of beauty. And we've seen a taste of it in preseason.
Absolutely. I know, man, with a healthy Waller, Paris Campbell, and Jalen Hyatt, man, that's a scary offense. I don't care who you are. And, of course, adding Saquon Barkley to that as well. You know, up to this point, you kind of used some words to describe Daniel Jones maybe in college, but up to this point in his career, what word would you use to describe Daniel Jones now?
You know, this was probably one of the tougher questions because I had to think about his career, right? Like, what has he done and what word we kind of, if I thought about it, I can see Daniel Jones. And the word that came to mind was resilient. You know, I think he's someone that he's been on the hot seat. You know, they had Eli Manning, the Super Bowl winning champion, and then Daniel Jones came in and he hasn't impressed. But yet each year he continues to get better, or you see the progressions. And now you're saying, okay, look, they have their quarterback. Dabble and them, they believed in Daniel Jones. They gave him an extension, right? They believe in it. They had their quarterback. Now let's build the team around him. You know, and it finally took 4 years in the making for them to say, Daniel Jones is it. This is our guy. Let's tell him he's our guy. Let's make sure he knows he's our guy. It's not just a rookie contract. Let's make him our guy. And now let's build this team around him. And Daniel Jones is not, at least to my knowledge, is not allowed like the media or anything to down talk, you know, you're on the hot seat if you're out. Any of that distract him. He's constantly going out there. He's constantly trying to be better than the year he was before. And that goes into that toughness. You know, he can get hit, but he can also take that beat down in the words, you know, and I feel he's just been a leader and he's grown to being a leader. You know, he didn't come out of college like that, but he's developed and the experience is showing. And it's just exciting to watch young athletes like that go in there, have a tough time, but yet continue to go in there and put in the work. And now look, he got himself a contract.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Alex Smith. Alex Smith was an early pick, looked like a bust, got with the right coach, and then was able to have a great career. I think he made at least one Super Bowl, an AFC championship game, maybe with Kansas City. Like, he had a really great career, you know, and it was just getting the right guy to show him what he needs to do. And Daboll looks like that guy.
Right. Agreed.
All right. So, man, don't make me jump to the screen on this one. If you're starting a franchise today, who would you rather have as your quarterback? Daniel Jones or Dak Prescott? And I know I live in California, but I will find a way to get there wherever you're at. Go ahead.
This one was tough. Because
was it?
I think, well, my thing is, if I was winning now, if I had the right team around, or you said build a team around, so if I knew I can get this win now team of some just guys that we're going undefeated, we're breaking the Miami record, Dak Prescott is that. But if I was like, you know what, I want to kind of rebuild and I want this team to progress and become a dynasty, Daniel Jones, because I think I can coach him up to be more. Where I think Dak Prescott, he's a great quarterback, but I think we're not necessarily seeing better or worse. He's where he's at, and that's fair. I think he's a top 10 QB, but I don't think he's necessarily gonna evolve to a number 1 QB, the QB overall. Where Daniel Jones, I feel coachable, ready, and you can get a couple more years out of him to be that overall QB for a dynasty. So I like to rebuild and make my own team, so I'm gonna say Daniel Jones.
So you don't think Dak has any upside left to offer?
I don't think it's. I mean, I think the upside's good. A top 10 QB, that's it. But I don't think you're getting him in a chance of the top 5.
Really? Wow.
I think there's some other QBs, but I think there's a very possible way that he does finish higher than Daniel Jones this season. QB 7, 8, just outside that top 5 area. I'm really heavy on the Cowboys this year. I think they're gonna have a great year, and I think Dak Prescott again win now, and I think that's what the Cowboys are right now, is kind of a win now mode, because CeeDee Lamb's young, but they also brought in Brandon Cooks. They have Tony Pollard. For Dak Prescott, it is a win now, because if not, guess what? We're gonna go get a younger quarterback, and they did. Trey Lance.
Oh, interesting. And very, very interesting. All right, let's talk a little bit of fantasy here. I know there's some players who might be inactive, important players at that. Which player do you think will score the first touchdown of the game, SC?
I was going back and forth between 2 wide receivers, and that was Jalen Hyatt or CeeDee Lamb.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Just because Jalen Hyatt's the rookie, they don't know what to expect from him, and just boom, a bomb. But I think CeeDee Lamb gets in the end zone first. I think Dak and him, the first drive they have, they're just gonna connect, and that's gonna not say anything about the Cowboy fans, but I know once that happens and it's a beautiful play, just a perfect dime, and he catches it and looks beautiful, it's gonna go wild. It's gonna be like, oh, Cowboys are back, all that great stuff, and they are. I'm heavy on them. I think they can possibly win the NFC East. But I think that's going to be a great connection, and we're going to see that that's something like we wanted this. This is the connection we want. This is the Dak CD we want. I think they connect on their first drive for a touchdown.
Mike, how about you?
I believe that the first touchdown will be caused by Micah Parsons. I don't think he'll score it, but I think he'll either strip sack or cause a interception with pressure. And so I went through our team and I thought, well, what player has the best chance of either scooping and scoring or pick sixing? And I came up with Damone Clark as the best guess I could make. The safeties have a good chance, LBE, but I'm going to go Damone Clark scores the first touchdown. Shout out to, this question was asked by Cal Yeomans, and somebody said Turpin on a return, a kick or punt return early in the game. And I thought that was a very plausible scenario, because Turpin's had some where he was real close. So I'm going to go defense. I think this defense wants to come out and be those guys, and so I'm going Damone Clark.
Man, I love the Turpin answer. I think if he were to score a touchdown in the first game of the season, that would really set the tone for him and what kind of season he could possibly have this year.
Agree. That could make it a real, like a one of those great returner years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is probably low-hanging fruit here, man. I'm going Tony Pollard. I think he'll be the first guy to score a touchdown. You mentioned the first drive. I see CeeDee Lamb and Dak connecting. I think, we've talked a lot about running the ball, Mike McCarthy running the ball this year, and I think Tony Pollard's going to have a big year. So I'll give him the first touchdown of the year for the Cowboys.
I like that. I mean, this is going to be a new look. They don't have ZK more. Pollard's a little bit more explosive. I think that's going to be great.
Okay, I see. Which player do you think will score the most fantasy points in this game?
I'm going to have to say Saquon Barkley. I think he just, not getting the contract, maybe not the one he wanted, but I think this is going to be kind of a man, y'all should have paid me, because guess what? See, I'm going to put this team on my back kind of and just show that I'm a great running back, and I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
Should have paid me. So I think Saquon Barkley just goes out there, and it's going to be a battle between him and Pollard, but I think he might be the running back that gets you maybe 18, 20 points or so.
Mike, how about you?
The fun answer, wouldn't it be the fun answer to be a Dallas tight end? Because they just destroy the Giants all the time. Like, I don't know why. It's so weird. Like Blake Jarwin, Schultz, they all just kill. So I could say Jake Ferguson, but I think if I'm answering honestly, I would just go Dak Prescott. Yeah. It's kind of chalk. It's not fun, but that would be like the easy check mark one. Like, I'll just say Dak.
So in regards to the Turpin discussion, we had a comment here from my guy Prescott. He said Dante Hall circa 03 type of year, perhaps. Man, wouldn't that be incredible?
That would make Dallas unbelievably hard to beat with that defense, what they should be, and the offenses having more playmakers, having a could be a touchdown every time you touch the ball type returner.
Yeah.
Gross.
Dante's Hall, one of the all-time greats. So if that turned into what Turpin is, then the league's in trouble.
For real. Scary.
Yeah, for real. The guy I think will score the most fantasy points, I'm going with CeeDee Lamb, man. If he scores the first touchdown, I have a feeling he's going to have a big game.
He should. A lot of young corners on the Giants, and Adoree Jackson's a slot corner, but I think they'll find a way to get CeeDee Lamb matched up on those other guys.
Yeah, I was listening to 105.3 The Fan today, and I didn't know this, but the Giants are going to be starting 2 rookie corners on Sunday night. So, Dak's going to be licking his chops, I'd imagine, sir.
Yeah.
Deonte Banks is a good cornerback, though, man. He's fast and keep up with our wide receivers, So it'll be fun. They still do have Xavier McKinney, and then they got the new linebacker Bobby Okereke. So I think that's going to be a huge reason to bring in some pressure to Dak and the team there.
And Giants might have the best 4-man defensive line in all of football. Like, two good pass rush ends, a great 3 technique, and a great 1 technique. Like, they may not have the depth of Philly or Dallas or San Francisco, but if you just look at straight across the board, you're playing Madden and you're picking 4 guys. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. I'm not saying Aziz or Thibodeau or Micah Parsons or Nick Bosa, but they have potential and they're really good edge rushers, young, and then those 2 in the middle are gross. So their defense could be really good this year.
And the Cowboys. Go ahead, SC. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. My bad.
I was going to say.
Go ahead, SC. I was just going to say Thibodeau. Thibodeau's from Oregon, so I love me some Thibodeau. That's all I was
say. No, I was going to say we talked about the Giants starting 2 rookies at corner, man. The Cowboys might be starting 2 rookies on the offensive line. You talk about the Giants defensive line. That could be a big matchup to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knowing Dallas, I'd be really surprised if Adoga doesn't get one of those starts. They just always believe in giving the veteran the shot first, especially the one they paid money to. But the word is Tyron's going to play. Tyler is the very he was doubtful, but he did go through the walkthrough. And if he goes through the walkthrough Saturday, I bet he tries to go. But yeah, it could be scary. That left side could be an issue.
Talking about the defensive line, Prescott wanted to throw a team in the ring here. What about the New York Jets as far as best defensive line in the league?
Little too young, unproven outside. I don't think Jermaine Johnson did as much as Thibodeau or Aziz has already. He was my number 1 edge in that draft, so I love him, but he didn't have a big-time first year. Obviously, McDonald is a rookie, so we don't know what he's going to be. Carl Lawson was really good in Cincinnati, but he's coming off the injury. Is he going to be the same guy? Now, Quinn Williams is a monster. He's unbelievable. But I don't know if their line is they're in that top 5 range, but I don't think they're up with the top 3 in the NFC East with San Francisco. They're more after that. Maybe Washington, maybe Raiders in that area for me personally.
if Jermaine Johnson takes a second-year leap and then Will McDonald kind of has like a Sam Williams-esque type of year, then maybe.
Then they're a problem. Yeah, then they solidify a top 5 for sure. Because Quinn Williams is an issue.
I think a huge part of that whole defense, though, whether they're good or bad, is going to be the health of C.J. Mosley. I think he's that focal point in the middle, and he's had some healthy seasons these past couple of years, but he's also been hurt. So that's going to be a huge reason, because if he goes down, unfortunately, that line is just going to kind of demolish, because people are just going to try to beat them in that over the top, that middle right there where Mosley would be. But I mean, everything you said about him, there's some monsters there. And Robert Saleh is a great-minded defensive coach, right? But I think he's also someone that if the linebackers fall apart, then everything else just does.
So his linebackers are a key to his defense. I 100% agree. If Mosley goes down, it could end up being like when Sean Lee used to get injured for Dallas, and the team would fall apart, and you're like, it's one dude. But they're important. To a lot of defenses, those linebackers are key.
Man, Sean Lee, another one where you wanted him on the field because you just knew the game was that much better with him on it, just because of how disturbing he was to the quarterbacks, right? But then it's like every time he went off or got hurt, it was like, man, are they going to run all over Dallas? What's going to happen? Because he was a huge piece, man. And, he was a great Cowboy for the time he had.
They went, I remember the one year they were a top 5 defense for like 9 weeks. Top 5 DVOA, just killed everything. Sean Lee went out and they were bottom 3 for like the next 5 weeks. I was like,
how?
Blew my mind.
It's crazy to think we go from Sean Lee to Micah Parsons, and not too short of a time. I know different positions and everything, but just to have that type of defensive player, man, it's special.
Yeah. It is.
Arguably the best linebacker in the league right now, or edge rusher, whatever you want to call him, in Micah Parsons. I mean, one of the showed it as soon as he stepped in the league. He's one of the best.
Playmaker, man. Just call him a playmaker.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, SC. Who will win this game?
Man, I'm gonna say the Giants. I'm going to say the Giants win it. I think it's a close game, but I definitely think the Giants pull it off. And again, Daniel Jones is good, right? But I'm gonna say it's Dabo. I think Dabo is going in there and showing he's a winning coach, and his energy he's bringing to the team and everything he's doing with the team and bringing them together is a huge thing. Again, I think the Cowboys can get it, the NFC East title, but I think, it's week 1. And there's going to be a lot of new things happening where they're going to utilize what they can do with Jalen Hyatt, what they can do with Shaquan now that he's back with Daniel Jones, so different packages they can use around. Hopefully Waller's hurt or better and he can play. If not, Bellinger is a good tight end. He was connecting with Daniel Jones last year before he got hurt. So I think the Giants just have more of a mystery that's you're not really going to see. It's like, oh, wow, they look really good. But I think, down the road, it's going to be the Cowboys that say, okay, we need to make our adjustments after that week 1 loss, and they're going to beat them the second time.
Yeah. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I think talent-wise, Dallas would massacre. Just on talent, they would kill. Unfortunately, I've had this strange feeling about this game since forever. When we did our game picks, Paul, I picked us to split the 2 New York games. And I said, everybody's going to expect me to say Aaron Rodgers beats us, but we don't really prepare in the preseason. We don't get, play our guys. So there's going to be some rust there. I think they're going to be tired of the Dak's 10-0 and Dallas is 11-1. I think they're going to have that on their wall, making them work harder every day, hearing that. And then I just think about storyline wise, I don't believe in that whole script thing, the NFL script. But if you're talking about what's the best scenario for media, for the talk shows, Dallas loses game 1, something where the defense plays pretty well, but the offense can't score enough. Dak has a turnover or 2. He's continuing from last year, same old Cowboys, Dak can do it. You have a whole week to eat that up. Here comes Aaron Rodgers. Philly's schedule's easy early. They're going to get up on Dallas. I just feel like it's one of those times where somehow, some way, the NFL is gonna get that storyline, and Dallas is gonna lose 20-19, some kind of weird, crazy way. And I don't think Giants are in Dallas's league, to be honest with you. I other than D-line, I don't think they're competitive anywhere else, and tight end. So it should be one where you look on paper and go, Dallas smokes this team. They're not, but I just don't see it. I think Giants are going to pull an upset. Daboll's 1-0. Mike McCarthy's 0-3 in season openers. I think they're going to lose. I can't explain like on the football field why, but everything surrounding the football field tells me that the Giants are going to steal game 1 at home Sunday night.
My score prediction there would have been 24-21, but same thing where, they're going to kick that game-winning field goal, Graham Gano. And you were talking about the media and that storyline. Imagine Dak loses, right, in the field goal, and it's like he couldn't do it, or maybe it was a turnover or just a 4-down conversion they didn't hit, so they get the ball in field goal range, they kick the field goal and win. The Giants. Imagine the media. Is it time to start Trey Lance?
Trey Lance, yeah.
That's what's going to happen, right? That's going to be on him all season, and but then he goes into New York, and then he beats Rodgers. Well, maybe it's it's just going to be a back and forth Trey Lance or Dak all season, and yeah, I think it's New York's going to start it early.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Mike. One thing I learned from you at the origins of this podcast, that an aspect that's overlooked when predicting games is the human element. And you mentioned it, rust. Cowboys are going to be rusty. They didn't start the players in the preseason at all. Of course, they're practicing and everything. McCarthy came out and said he thinks practices are enough, but we know that's not really true in most cases. Yeah, I have the Giants winning this one as well, due to the human element of rust.
Well, do we all just pick the Giants to beat Dallas?
Yeah, it looks like it, man.
I was on here for a little time.
Dallas as a 20-point win now. We all just
seriously, that's exactly how it's going to go.
Me and Paul were just trying to get a jinx on. That's what happened right there. Now I see our strategy.
I got y'all to believe in Daniel Jones. It's okay. I do too.
There you go. You converted us, man.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I think he'll do enough to win this first game. I hate it. God, because you're going to get so much of Daniel Jones is better than Dak. Like, I already get a lot of it on my timeline, and I'm like, what are y'all looking at? But it's going to be – and that's part of it. I think that type of story and engagement is better for the league. And I just think somehow it's going to happen. I'm not into the scripted or like the NFL is going to ask for it. That's not what I mean. I just mean like Jurassic Park, life finds a way. Like it's going to something's going to happen. Every time Dallas hits a big play, that there's going to be some kind of penalty, like not intentional, not like, a big play, throw a penalty. It's just going to happen. Like, weird stuff. Dallas will get down there, they'll false start. And you're like, what, why are you doing? Little stuff is going to keep them where you're watching it and going, man, we should be up by a couple scores and we're down by 3 points. What's going on right now? And it's just close enough to where at the end, the Giants find a way to pull out a win. And then we have to go through the week. That's going to be a week of fucking hell. It really is for Dallas fans. Ugh.
Yeah.
The question you have to go back to is it's week 1. It's and one of my bold takes that I actually wrote for RPO Football. It's one of my articles. Is the Dallas Cowboys have 2,000-yard receivers? I think bringing in Brandon Cooks is going to be huge for them. And Brandon Cooks is a 1,000-yard receiver. He's done it. CeeDee Lamb has done it too. Last time Dak Prescott did that was with Amari Cooper and I think it was Gallup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible that it happens again. And this is going to be the wake-up game. Like, okay, guys, let's go out there and let's start clicking, because it's going to say we're not just going to go over there and roll over our NFC East rivals. but it's going to be a wake-up call, and we're going to see just a constant progression with them, and then it's going to be like, wait, these guys are dangerous. We need to watch out for them Cowboys.
Cooks would break a record if he got 1,000 yards at Dallas. It'd be the most 1,000-yard seasons with different teams.
4, right?
Wow. Yeah.
4?
Patriots, Rams, Saints, and then the Cowboys. No, Texans.
No, Texans. He had 2,000-yard years with the Texans even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Okay, Mike, your score prediction sounded like it was 2019 Giants. Let's see what's yours.
24-21 Giants. Kick that field goal at the end, get that last turnover or just that last fourth down conversion in their end zone, and they kick that field goal for the win with Graham Gano.
Yeah, I have a little bit more high scoring than you guys. I have Giants 27, Cowboys 24.
Man, I hope we killed him.
Paul Barkley, 2 touchdowns, though. 1 passing, one receiving, 1 running.
Hey, like that, man, especially for fantasy. All right, SC, I can't thank you enough, man, for sharing your time and coming on and chopping it up with us. Before we get you out of here, talk to us a little bit about your content, the content you're creating and where we can find it, man.
Yes, sir. First, definitely thank you guys for letting me on this show and just talking some good football with y'all. You can find me every Tuesday and Thursday on DynastyPros doing their Devy show. I have weekly start shit IDP articles coming out for RPO football. All that content you can find out, though, on my Twitter, which is on my X, whatever you want to call it, at the PPR show. Also, every Tuesday and Wednesday on that, I'm doing threads. One for college football, so you're going to see a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and IDP thread on what I got from the weekly learning. So this week coming out, week 2, what I learned. And then also we're going to be doing that for football. So quarterback, running back, wide receiver, IDP for football, just letting you know what I learned and, what's coming up from there. But everything at the PPR show on X, find me on Dynasty Pros or on RPO football with some articles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mike, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
Yeah, it's still just Twitter. No, nobody cares about anything. It's still Twitter. Letter C, letter D, Piglet. Nice and easy, guys.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Look at